as well. For the newcomers here, I'm Frank McVeigh, and the chair of the Ad Hoc Committee. Mrs. DiGirolamo, would you read the Open Public Meeting Act statement, please?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of June 6, 2018 was included in a list of meeting notices sent to newspapers of record and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk.
Thank you very much. Would we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vicki, would you roll call, please?
Chairman McVeigh.
Here.
Ms. DiGirolamo. Here. Mr. Phillipsburg.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here. I have an opening statement. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending and for your interest in this matter. Before continuing, I must caution the members in attendance that matters before us are not for public participation, involvement, nor comment without subpoena. Those who are found to be out of order or considered unruly by the chairperson shall be requested to leave, subsequently preventing from attendance for the duration of these proceedings. On March 6, 2018, I motioned to form a committee to investigate into the hiring and appointing practices of Mayor Stephen R. Ellis. This request originated from, but not limited to, a series of emails that was presented to the Town Council President for knowledge and information. It has been alleged upon being elected as Mayor of Phillipsburg on November 3rd, 2015, Mayor Stephen R. Ellis immediately formed a transition team consisting of Phillipsburg Police Officer Mike Swick, Thomas Kent Corcoran, Sherry Corcoran, Chris Troxel, T. Scott Ferguson, Campaign Treasurer Jennifer McBride, Councilman-elect Joshua Davis, and Councilman-elect Mark Lutz. This team instantly began planning the removal of certain town officials and employees, the hiring of friends within that team, and rewarding a majority of those who supported his campaign with jobs and positions within the town's infrastructure. All of this being performed prior to taking the oath of office. Now, it should be noted, as it has been documented during the council public meeting on February 6, 2018 by Council President Fulper, that Councilman Mark Lutz only attended 2 meetings before removing himself from these meetings because of his personal outlooks that something felt wrong about the content and discussions. And to a person that further heightened my suspicion to inquire of an investigation of how I know working with Councilman Lutz prior to and during my tenure as councilman. After being nominated as chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on May 9, 2018, it was my sole intention, as stated in the meeting, that the information offered warranted an investigation. Understanding the facts behind these emails and making recommendations to council, good or bad and even indifferent, affords the citizens of Phillipsburg an insight to the practices set forth by Mayor Ellis's current term. It is only the truth and transparency that is pursued in these proceedings, not the defamation, embarrassment, or degradation of City Hall, in particular, Mayor Ellis. It will be the responsibility and the expectation of this ad hoc committee to complete this process and shine the light of true transparency on our government for the benefit of all involved, but none more so than you, the constituents. This committee is not ignorant to the fact that this type of behavior may or may not have occurred with prior administrations. But it is our stance, and during our tenure, that we shall not follow suit. Shortly thereafter, the Ad Hoc Committee garnered a respectable amount of television and print media attention. All outlets reported in fairness and reported from an objective stance. This committee stood on our original inquiry and has cooperated, as witnessed in recent weeks, to represent our community in an impartial manner until the outcome of these investigatory circumstances are heard. Thank you. And I want to further state, off of my written prepared opening statement, that these are fair and impartial hearings to the information and facts presented before us. I will remind everyone that we are sworn members. Everyone up here, the councilman of the AdHoc committee, we have taken an oath of office to adhere to a certain standard. And when we are in receipt of information, it is not our job to put our head in the sand, but to investigate. And that is to investigate of any impartial ways, friends, no friends, colleagues, not colleagues, whatever party, whatever that is. That's what we do. And that's what we're going to do this evening and for future meetings. At this time, I want a motion to swear in any witnesses. We do have one witness this evening, that's Mrs. Jennifer McBride. I make a motion to panel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. McBride, would you see Vicki Kleiner, please?
Step forward for council.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I, Jennifer McBride,
Do swear by Almighty God
do swear by Almighty God
that the evidence and statements
that the evidence and statements
that I shall give
that I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Ms. McBride, would you state your name for the record and also the county council as well, your name?
Jennifer McBride, would you like to get my address? 401 James Street, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. And my attorney?
Yes, Douglas Cole on behalf of Jennifer McBride. I'll be counseling her this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. To both of you, we apologize for the delay. We had lengthy discussions, but again, please accept our apologies to get started. Okay. Ms. McBride, I have an electronic version, and I will bring that up. I have a hard copy version of the emails. Would you like me to give that to you for
I'd like this, thank you.
Sure. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, in just maybe a few sentences on your own accord, explain to the panel exactly your role during the transition team and who you know how it not so how much you can, but just basically your role. That was all.
My main function in the transition team was to contact potential appointees, schedule interview times with the mayor and the transition team, and basically be in part with the interviews that occurred.
I have, there has been a table of organization kind of passed out, an organizational chart. I don't know if you are in receipt of that. Do you have a copy of that?
I do not have that.
We have a copy right here.
Thank
But
you.
sometimes that makes it easier, and
Yes.
and for everyone in attendance, it's kind of a map to our inquiry this evening, and what we have. I have highlighted of the approximately 62 emails, and for the record, I will ask questions first. I will turn it over to the panel, and then when all questions are done, we'll excuse you for the evening. Thank you. And we won't be long, I promise. I've highlighted myself, firstly, for my questions, a few emails that I just need a little further explanation on. They are, for most of them, they are self-explanatory. Some are filled with a lot of information, and some are just simple, informative. Even in my own notes, I even have down here as just info. So, it is, you know, I'm not going to go over all 62 at all. But for email number 2, which is right off the beginning, I see that was, email number 1 was also from Mike Swick, starting basically the contact list,
Correct.
right? And that was, he wanted to get that started to verify addresses. And email number 2, he kind of shrunk the list down just to a smaller group.
Yes.
It said, his last line in that email says, also, please do not distribute. Do you have any knowledge why he didn't want this email list distributed, if there was any find issue?
No, I do not.
Okay. And for the record, and on the table of organization, that would be your very first block on that table of organization. Okay. I'm going to jump over to email number 10. And I will not go forward until you're there. Okay. And that's like the first agenda. And I have to ask, is this your agenda or is it someone else's agenda? This is,
No, I was not in charge of putting together agendas.
okay. And who would be?
Sherry Corcoran.
Okay. Thank you. I have highlighted here agenda and review for planning board seats. So I guess that grabbed my attention. I believe at that time, as I get further through, were you at this November 14th meeting?
Yes.
You were. Because the planning board seats, I believe there were some vacancies. Mr. Fulper, I may defer to you because I believe you were at that time a current planning board member. I'm not sure if you were expiring or not. I don't know if you can expand on that.
Chairman, I believe there were 2 seats expiring at that point in time. It would have been myself and Bob Yell. I apologize, that would be 3 if you include Councilman Randy Piazza.
I just want to establish if there was something, if they were talking about those upcoming vacant seats. I know that that's more for the board. I just found it curious that a mayor-elect or council-elect would actually discuss a board. I thought maybe the board would discuss the seats once the mayor was sworn in, but
Well, they are mayoral appointments.
yes.
With council consent.
Would it be one mayoral appointment or?
I believe it's determined by the class of the board member. And at the time, there was much confusion on which board members currently, what their current classes were. I believe that the actual classifications weren't tracked properly because there's supposed to be certain amounts of years with overlapping. Some are 4, some are 3. And I believe that initial email and question was, what are the classifications, who is going to be, whose term is expiring, so that Mayor Alex could come up with an appointment to fill that spot.
Mr. Fulper, is there anything you'd like to add to that or no?
Not this time.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is we are all here for the practices of, I want to establish whether everything was done properly, and we hope so. Okay. I have email number 17, and that's subject forwarded minutes from 11/19/15. All right, and this is where, and again, if you recall, and as you read over that, if this was a meeting you were not at, or you cannot recall, please let me know.
I was at this meeting.
Okay, very good. Seventeen. And these are pretty lengthy meeting minutes. This looks like I'm questioning, we are starting to look at administrative assistants, professional appointments, and some vetting. There's talking about, there's some folks in here that there are, the housing authority is now mentioned as far as seats are up. On 112, and then 8-1-16, that's a council-appointed seat to Mr. Shelley. I bring it up because I see a seat open approximately 10 months from the date of this meeting that their discussion on who they're going to fill that with. And I believe Mr. Shelley, I don't want to speak for anyone here that would have housing authority experience. Mr. Shelley lasted till August 1st of 2016 or not.
I have no knowledge of housing authority appointments, unfortunately.
There's also some mention of vetting in here. Rogie, Mark, and Josh will meet this Saturday, 12/21, to discuss possible candidates for open board seats. Transition team meetings, next meetings to determine the Oprah rule. Okay. And as I see here, he was supposed to meet with former Mayor Wyant on had scheduled a meeting on December 2nd to discuss things. That's good.
Mhm.
The only document received, the first point is the only document that we have received so far is the 2015 town budget, which is a point I'll be clarifying a little bit, a theme I should say, I'll be clarifying a little bit later in the questioning. Okay. Can we jump over to email number 22? Again, that's going to be minutes.
Yes.
And most of the questions come from that because in the minutes it kind of states what happened, and that's where I'm going to find most of it. I'm not critiquing emails and sentences and what people say. It's just after the meetings, it's sort of my concerns and my questions are, I need clarification for, hopefully to clear up this, what was said or what's perceived in some of the minutes and how it went forward or how it got to point A to point B, which is the table of organization. Okay, this is one of my starred emails here. There is a lot in here regarding the team is looking for 3 to 5 resumes for the following positions: town attorney, municipal judge, administrative assistant to the mayor, DPW supervisor, insurance broker, land use board attorney. Were you present at this meeting, do you recall?
Yes.
This was like a large meeting.
Yes.
Use SOP email. There's also PTM SOP email. I see there was also established SOPs. When I went through all 52, I only found 2.
Yes, there were only 2.
One of them was, and one of them goes back to 19, and I don't want to regress, but I'll just read it for you. Basically, that was the first SOP establishes, quote unquote, he is the leader. Am I accurate there?
Correct.
Was there an issue him not? I don't understand why that would. Were these SOPs just for the duration of the transition team?
Yes.
Meaning you would die off on January 1?
Correct. Other than Councilman Lutz, well, I'll defer to you, sir. I'll ask you if you were at the meeting. I know you excused yourself at your son, if you were at, so, I don't understand why a transition team would be looking into such positions within the town's infrastructure as town attorney, municipal judge.
DPW supervisor, which I believe we had one. I don't, was there is that, Vicki, can I ask, do we have a vacancy in the DPW supervisor?
Dennis had retired and
So we did have a vacancy.
we would.
Okay, very good. That's appropriate then. What, did Mayor Ellis need to take the lead on most of these discussions, I would hope?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any other larger input from anybody else or any concerns or, because according to SOP 1, it really should be, but.
Well, he took, he did take input from everybody that was present at the meetings, whether it was myself, his wife, the Corcorans, Thomas Ferguson, anybody that happened to be at the meetings at the time, he would, take everybody's input.
Okay.
I didn't know a lot of people being discussed, so I don't know any
Vicki, may I ask
town
you,
attorneys.
I'm sorry, may I ask you, the administrative assistant to the mayor, was that a position that was open or?
Harry had a secretary, confidential secretary up to 2007. She retired. And when she retired, they did not fill it. He used either Michelle or myself.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. Very next email, 23. Transition Committee SOP number 2, dated 11/28/15. Transition team members, 5 total from the group, should attempt the following ASAP to obtain 5 resumes for each town of Phillipsburg staff position. The group and the mayor, we would be recommending for replacement. I had concern on this, again, why a civilian transition team is looking to replace the staff positions at City Hall. And that group would be outsourcing. As council members, you can see how we take, even though I wasn't a council member at the time, I'm trying to wrap my head around that group of people on that table of organization is making the decisions for the town of Phillipsburg before there was a swearing in on January 1st, 2016. That's my concern. So I would ask you, was this, this was not a meeting, this was more of just an SOP that went out?
Correct.
The transition team members will reduce the resumes down to 3 for interviews. 2 transition team members and the mayor-elect will interview 3 people chosen for the submission to council during the town of Phillipsburg reorganization meeting on January 1st, 2016 thereafter. Background, I realize it's a short time, however, we don't want any citizen to have the ability to say that we are anything like the prior administration's hiring friends and family compared to competent staff. Okay. Were you part of the interview process? Were you the team?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Good.
And it wasn't always limited to just the mayor and 2 people. Sometimes there'd be as many as 5 or 6 people at the interviews. So it wasn't always just the mayor and 2.
Mayor, yes. Okay. Thank you for your response. Number 26. That is titled November 28th of 15 minutes. Now this is showing me where resumes are coming in, and you are housing the resumes. Jen has received 3 resumes for a town attorney.
Correct.
You received one resume for the administrative assistant to the mayor, Sherry Corcoran.
Correct.
I should have backtracked on my last email. But I did see how the transition team was sent out to garner 5 resumes, right? This wasn't posted anywhere, correct?
No, it was basically soliciting either firms in the area, specifically in Phillipsburg, to either whether they were personal friends or they knew through other avenues, to see if they wanted to submit a resume for some of these positions.
And looking at these team meeting minutes, did you author these, or is we still a Sherry Corcoran here?
This is Sherry Corcoran.
Point number 9, the mayor's appointment to the Housing Authority Board will be Mike Swick.
Correct, that was the original, mayor's original pick. I believe it was pulled at some point.
Sherry, point number 17. Sherry and Kent will give a list of questions on Commerce Park to Roby for discussion with Harry Blank. Now, I was not a politician at this point. I was a resident of 49 Corliss Avenue, just mowing my grass and taking care of things at home. I'm trying to think, did Sherry or Kent have any position in the town at that time, with any boards, committees, employment within the town?
No, not at that time.
Okay. I just want to establish that the mayor is accepting recommendations from Sherry and Kent Corcoran to discuss that infrastructure. Commerce Park. Number 27. Now, looks like an application from someone, not an application, but an interest email to you regarding the superintendent of recreation.
Correct.
I'm going to actually be quiet for a moment, since you had a lot of back and forth with her, and this is an extremely well-written email, and credentials from this person. Could you expand on this a little bit? And whatever happened to this person?
Oh, well, so at the time, it was pretty well known that the current rec department, rec supervisor was going to be retiring. And one of the things that Mayor Ellis asked was to say, does anybody know any qualified potential candidates? He himself actually garnered one from a friend. This specific person happens to actually be a resident of Phillipsburg. She is a friend of mine. We did happen to go to high school. But she actually has a degree in recreation. She's now currently employed with the YMCA of Easton and Phillipsburg. She decided to take the position, the offered position over there, because her resume was never asked back.
You see this resume?
I did see this resume.
Thank you for your response. Email number 29. Looking at 29, this isn't like really, I didn't have a question on this, I just need a little clarification. Can you, if you can, could you explain this one a little bit? I'll read it so our attendants can understand what we're talking about. It says, helping 519, that's your email?
Correct, that is my personal email.
Hello all, just needed a head count on who will be present during the interviews on Thursday. Please let me know so that our candidates have the correct number of copies of resumes and other information to provide to the group. Thank you, Jen. This is to the Ellis transition email, Mike Swick, Josh Davis, Chris Troxel, Kent Corcoran, Steve Ellis, and T. Scott Ferguson.
Correct.
Okay. Is this a group that was going to be doing?
This would be the group that would be, you most showed up for interviews the majority of the time.
Was there interviews for the prosecutor position? Was that
Not to my recollection, no.
deputy counsel to the mayor? Yes. I'm going to jump over to 37. We're ending soon. Okay, Mike, Chris, Steve, Kent, and Sherry interviewed with Bill Mandry. I'll give you a second to take a look at this just to refresh your memory. Okay, hello all. Would like everyone to arrive at Ferg's office at 8 p.m. Monday evening for a brief meeting prior to Mrs. Perez and Associates interview at 8:30. The only agenda item for tomorrow's meeting will be a report from Rogie on his meetings with HW, which I assume will be Harry Wine. We should be finishing up the interviews this week. Jen is waiting to hear back from Schaefer, and she will line up an interview with the engineering firm of Remington Vernick. Rogie will be conducting phone interviews this week. He will give us an update tomorrow night. Please be prepared to give your written recommendations, including reasons for recommendations for all positions that we've interviewed for. Rogie will give us a deadline on the recommendations for tomorrow night's meeting. Just a quick update. Mike, Chris, Rogie, Kent, and Sherry conducted the interview with Bill Mandry. The only discussion Saturday was that we agreed to get as many people to attend the town council meeting Tuesday, 12/15 as we can. Can you explain why Mike Swick, Chris Troxel, Rogie, of course, Ken Corcoran and Sherry were interviewing Bill Mandry, and why there were so many people who had to come to the meeting on the 15th? Can you recall?
To the first part, why, I'm sorry, what was the first part?
Why they were interviewing Bill Mandry?
He was being interviewed for the land use board attorney. And as to the second part, the council meeting on 12/15, I believe, at that time, I believe, this is when the salary for the mayor was rolled back by a resolution. And there obviously was in the news